This is CNN Breaking News.
Fast-moving story here on CNN. So let's recap what we know about the crash in Seattle. Alaska Airlines says they are investigating the unauthorized takeoff of one of its partners' planes at Seattle's main airport Friday evening. This according to a tweet from the airline. It crashed in Pierce County, not far from the airport. You are looking at live pictures from the scene. Of course, it's nighttime in Washington, just past 10 p.m., almost 10:30 there on the West Coast. The plane was reportedly from Horizon Air. It was a Q400. That is a very popular commuter aircraft, which seats around 75 people on a normal flight. CNN safety analyst David Susi joins us now on the phone from Denver, Colorado. David, let me remind our viewers what we know about the person. It was a mechanic, we're being told. It was a mechanic from the airport who stole the plane. He was 29 years old. He was from Pierce County. The sheriff's department is currently working background on him. More importantly, they're saying this was not a terrorist incident. This was a suicide flight mission. Also of key importance here, there was no one else on the plane with him, so no one else was killed in the crash, and no one else on the ground, and two F-15 fighter jets were scrambled, and they steered the plane away from a danger zone. That's what we're being told by the Pierce County Sheriff Department. Tell us a little bit about how that works. You were telling us before the break. Yes,
they boxed the aircraft in, and I'm not sure how fast or how quickly this aircraft was traveling through the air, but those particular aircraft are able to go to different speeds, and they'll actually bank to the aircraft and on each side, left and right. So no matter where this pilot looks, he's not going to try to steer into these jets. They're very ominous, and they'd be sitting right over those wings, very, very close to the aircraft. So if asking him or thinking that he could fly one way or the other. Now, the only thing that concerns me about that, if I was in those airplanes, is if this is a mechanic who's not an experienced pilot, they probably
how does he react
a little bit further away. Yeah, probably a little further away, but trying to keep that aircraft into the right area.
Okay, the pictures we're seeing, it's hard to judge the size of the perimeter where we're seeing flames and plane debris. Fortunately, Ketron Island, where it landed, is a very low-density, low-population area. Are you seeing the pictures, David, that I'm seeing?
No, I can't see them right now. I did look at some earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, it's nighttime, so we're seeing flames in the forest. I was just going to ask you what the danger was, and I don't know, we don't know the specifics of the speed at which the plane was flying, et cetera, but in a crash like that, of how wide a perimeter is endangered when a plane crashes like that?
Well, it depends on the angle of attack when the aircraft hits the ground. If it's going in more perpendicular, it can vary from even a 737 crash in Colorado Springs here. Was only a scatter pattern of about 50 feet wide, 50 by 60. And so it can be that small, or it can be strewn out across hundreds and hundreds of yards, because if it skids across, it'll take itself apart. If the engines are under full power, it can pull the wings further apart. So you can get quite a scatter pattern. And even though that's not a densely populated area, there are homes out there, and there are homes in that area. So the chance that pieces of that aircraft could have come down is still a possibility.
CNN law enforcement analyst Josh Campbell is standing by. He's with us too. Josh, with what we know, that this is not a terrorist incident, this was a suicide mission, but bearing in mind what David told us, this is a vulnerability in the system, the mechanics getting access to a plane. Can you comment to that?
It is, and this is obviously anytime an incident happens, there's
but you
always
say it is. We knew it was.
So
hold
investigators
on.
will be looking back.
Josh, just a second. We knew it was a vulnerability?
Well, what I'm saying is that obviously in any organization or structure where you have human beings,
let me give you a different.
It's only as safe as the weakest link. So, in these types of incidents, obviously when you talk about aircraft that are involving passengers, there's a lot of scrutiny that goes into pilots and, psychological analysis and the like, obviously less so when we talk about mechanics, because they're not actually, ferrying human beings and passengers along with them. But that doesn't mean that it's not dangerous. Obviously, you have a pilot or a mechanic rather that has access to an aircraft that can quickly turn into a weapon if, as we've seen, if say this person had that as his or her motivation, that they wanted to take this aircraft off and then, use it as some type of offensive weapon, we'd obviously be talking about something very different right now, and that is obviously a vulnerability. But in any type of incidents like this, the investigators will be looking back to determine, what went wrong and what can we change changed as far as the structures that are in place to ensure that this does not happen again. This will be part of the NTSB investigation that will take place to actually look at that structure, to look at the processes. As David was mentioning earlier, even a protocol as simple as having 2 people aboard an aircraft before it takes off. If this is someone who was able to gain access to an aircraft because perhaps it was sitting in a hangar or elsewhere where it was outside the view of other people and security personnel, if one person was able to get on the aircraft and manipulate it because he had access to it, that's obviously an issue, and that's going to be a lot of scrutiny that we're going to see. 2 issues there: the access, and then what brought this aircraft to a halt. That will all be part of that investigation.
All right, Josh Campbell, our law enforcement analyst, David Susi, our CNN safety analyst. I'm going to speak to both of you on the back of this break. Obviously, this raises questions. What were the safety screenings for the mechanic? Did he go through all the proper vetting for anybody who can have access to an aircraft, anybody who can have access to the restricted areas within an airport? We're going to have to be asking these questions. It's going to take not just hours, it's going to take days to get these answers. We go to a short break. We keep asking the questions after this.